My headphones do this thing where I have to plug them into the computer twice.
Okay. I don't know.
I can't explain it.
There's no reason to.
Yeah.
Hey, look, it's you and me.
Yeah.
Actually, I guess
You,
technically it would be
he and I.
me and you. It's really weird. I got to point over there to point at you.
He and me. And together we are we.
We are Deads on the podcast.
We are Deadzone the podcast. Welcome to this exciting episode. I'm one of your hosts, Brian.
And I'm Rick.
Welcome to the Deadzone podcast. Deadzone is the sci-fi tabletop.
I don't know why I did that because we're not doing the video.
We're not doing the video. One day.
One day, someday.
But yeah, so we had tried to record.
It's my fault. I'm the technical genius who screwed that up.
In your defense,
With a battery.
My tablet's battery died, and you couldn't see anything on the screen.
It didn't matter which way I turned it. I couldn't see nothing.
Yeah.
Like you can see just enough of a shadow that I knew it was still on.
Yeah. It had 10% left, and it was like, is it gonna make it? Probably not. Oh well. But we are here to do a bit of a recap of Adepticon, which we have now been back for 2 days from.
Is it 2 days? Yeah, 2 days.
The end of the second day.
I don't know. Still a little exhausted.
Oh yeah, and kind of with that, we do have do a little bit of the recap. We have a bunch of interviews from the folks that we saw there. It was a really great time, and then we'll talk a little bit about what other things that are going on in the Manticverse.
Yes, indeed.
But yeah, so I think to kick off the recap of Adepticon, do we want to do the results of the tournaments right away, or
sure,
who
why
we
not?
got to see? Okay, so top of the hour.
We'll jump in and do Firefight first.
Yeah, let's do Firefight first. So had a really great turnout for it. In fact, I had 2 people show up that I didn't have on my list that then were there to play, and we were able to accommodate that just fine. Rick was gracious enough to be our ringer.
I had a blast doing it, no less.
That was definitely helpful. So all told, then means we had 18 players, which is pretty excellent. Because this is the second Adepticon Firefight tournament since second edition rolled out, and the first one since Command Protocols. It's weird to think that the Michigan GT was our first Command Protocols one, because we all got the book that day. But yeah, so had a really great time, and the final standings as they are now public. I did post them, and apparently I still have you typed in here as Renter instead of Ringer. But
I mean, whatever works.
So in first place, we have Joshua Horeled from I believe he's from the Chicago area. And then in second place, he was playing Marauders. And in second place, we had Adam Ballard, who was running Asterians. And in third place, we had Adam Kinne, who was also running Asterians. and our best sportsman was a good friend of ours, Mike Hodgman,
Yep.
who was playing Marauders.
Yes, he
And
was.
and some of them being your Marauders, if I recall correctly.
Pretty much, actually, they were my Marauders, all except for one mule.
Ah, gotcha.
Well, I mean, it was just before Adepticon, he wasn't enjoying the
Mhm.
Enforcers.
Right.
And it was that whole, well, I've got Marauders, Forge Fathers, I've got a few
We
armies
got
to try
options,
out.
yeah.
He comes over, we play, he asked me to give him what I had for Marauders. He created a list out of that, came over, we played, he lost, but he absolutely loved it.
Oh, good.
Versus playing the Enforcers, so that's what he brought. And he also multiple times said how much fun he had at Adepticon playing him.
That's
so
great to hear.
I think he's the next Marauders player in the area.
Nice. And then best painted, we have Grant Fetter.
That one was tough.
That was so it's hard to articulate. Like, the pictures don't do it justice.
No, they
we
really
had
don't.
An incredibly difficult choice in all of these submissions for the best painted, because there were some stunning armies, like top-notch quality.
Yeah, it was amazing to see him.
Yeah, it was so cool. And especially when we grabbed a couple pictures, they're up on those posts as well. But yeah, Grant Fetter's Enforcers kind of comboed with a really nice display board and a custom mini that he made for one of the scenarios that had the little like drone character gets attached to your unit. Like it was just amazing to look at, but the rest of them as well. Like, I even lucked out. There was at least one of the rounds was kind of our top two picks that we just
that played against each other
for like half a round. We're just going back and forth. It's like, oh, is it this one or is it that one? But really big shout out to you guys, the players. You did an amazing job. It was really easy to to run, which I certainly appreciate as the TO. The questions were good. Everyone was really gracious and respectful for one another, and love to see that. So, and as the quick recap, we did it in 2-hour blocks. We did 3 rounds. We did limit it to 4 turns.
4 turns
per game.
Yeah.
And that was someone was asking me about it earlier. That was mostly for time's sake. We were starting an hour after Armada finished, and which was like 3:00, and we went to 11. So with a little dinner break in there for those that were doing the Iron Man through that, starting at 8:00 in the morning.
Yeah, jeez.
So, but yeah, no, it was a absolutely great time. I know you got to play with Felix at the end there. You two had a really great discussion on the Maison Labs and working with that faction. So really cool stuff. All right. And as always, if any of you guys are listening that played in the tournament, if you have any feedback, let us know. If you'd like longer rounds, more games. It's all stuff we're intaking and already kind of planning for next year.
Who knows?
Yeah. So yeah. And so with that, we'll move right into Deadzone then.
Yes.
Which, in a similar vein, another 18 players, which is great to see. I believe if my tally was correct, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 from the Michigan area.
Is that including the ringer?
That is including the ringer. But and there was it was kind of neat because we now kind of have little pockets of people. There was 3 players that joined us from Florida. There's about 3 of them from the Chicago area, a pair from Oregon. So it's great to see like groups of guys being able to come and play together. And I do my best to to split everybody up. So,
Yeah, but sometimes Corey just always ends up playing his buddies in round 2 or 3.
His buddies are other Michigan players. So, without further ado, the Deadzone tournament standings are as follows. In first place, we have Corey Booms, reclaiming his title.
Yes.
He was playing Plague again. In second place, we have Adam Kinne, playing Veermyn this year. And in third place, we have Marc Lopez, who is playing Forge Fathers. And it was great. I think Marc had joined us at the Michigan GT last year. And so he and let's see, it was Jeff Spear. So it was great to see those guys again and have them in the tournament. And then for the best sportsman here, we have Aaron Richardson.
He was a blast.
He was a blast. He was playing Asterians. And then we also have, for best painted, we had Scott Kinne. So Scott, he did the Marauders. So if you're looking at the pictures, his was the Marauder set that had the tiger stripes on it with the he played in the Firefight tournament as well.
And the enforcers squeaked him out on painting in the Firefight, but over in Deadzone, he ended up taking it there.
Yeah. So and a lot of the same thing though, like the Deadzone teams are just looking fantastic. And it's great to see that game continue to flourish. We did see quite a few familiar faces, which is always a pleasure. But we also got to meet some new players. And so as it's great to always have new folks coming in and kind of enjoying the game, hopefully, and continuing to expand the scene. So same kind of thing. If you guys have any feedback for us on how you'd like the games run, or anything like that, if we're still good with the 4 rounds. I know after we set everything up and we had people sit down, we're like, oh, maybe a little bit more elbow space.
A little bit more elbow room, yeah.
But yeah, we do like our 175 points, and it was about an hour and 15 minutes per round, with little 15-minute breaks in between and a little lunch break. So anyone kind of looking to run their events, that one has actually been pretty consistent. People are getting done with their games in time. Maybe one group right up to the wire, but otherwise, a lot of folks get done ahead of time, and which is keeps things moving nice and cleanly. So sad to see not much representation for the Rebs this year. And Nameless actually did not make an appearance either, nope. which was a little surprising since that actually won last year. So it was a pretty good mix of folks, and had a really good time. And meanwhile,
so while you were doing the Deadzone, it's funny because you were running the Deadzone, and I'm watching Deadzone the entire time. But I was doing an Annihilation event.
Mm-hmm.
I brought 2 GCPS and the Plague, 1,000 points, and multiple people came in and played and absolutely loved it. I absolutely love playing Annihilation, and I think it definitely sparked some people's thoughts into actually playing Firefight.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, and talk of. An Annihilation tournament probably next year. So
that would be phenomenal.
We will see about putting something together for that. And kind of with that, I do want to shout out to some of the folks that really kind of helped make it possible. We had some great prize support from Adepticon themselves, Mantic as well, provided some great stuff for the players, but also Winged Hussar Publishing. We got discount codes for the top players, and Corvus Games Terrain also provided some prize support in the form of coupons for his online store. And we we had Acid House terrain.
Yeah,
really
featured on
showcased.
all of our Firefight tables and the Annihilation table.
Yeah,
That
which
stuff
looked
looks
great.
so good with Firefight.
And then on the Corvus side of things, we had two
All
dedicated tables to that, and one that was kind of a hodgepodge of other
A little bit
random
of
things that
everything.
I'm like, you know what, I want to showcase this little spaceship that I got and uncertain scenery again. So yeah, I think people really liked it. We're doing our best to kind of make sure that the boards that we have are kind of nice and full as far as scenery goes, and to make that something that we continue to improve on and get new stuff for you guys to shoot at each other in.
Yep. So after Deadzone, there was a little break,
Mm-hmm.
like not very long.
Not very long.
So then it was let's see if I get it right this time.
Yeah,
First
your turn.
annual Deadzone the Podcast DreadBall Ultimate Tournament.
Yes.
Does that work?
That
Yay.
works. I think it was the Ultimate Cup. I think was
Ultimate Cup. Okay.
the official name for it. But listeners will know that we just keep changing whatever the title
Every
is.
single time we say it, it'll be something different.
So that was an absolute blast, especially as people started showing up for it.
Yes.
We had set out. Jeff Burbage graciously provided his very nice
His ultimate mat.
Amazing. Which looks fantastic. Has all the rules and extra doodads there, and ultimately he kind of ran that part of it because we had 6 players.
Yep.
Locked in. So it was Jeff and his buddy Rob, and then we had Adam and Ben Kinne, and then we had Dev and John Jack. From the
nice thing about doing
thing.
something like DreadBall Ultimate in the evening, those guys that are down at the booth actually have a chance to get a game in.
Yeah.
Which was actually a really cool thing that you told me about.
Yeah, that it was that thing where these guys work all day. When we first put out the request, Dev hit me up right away. Oh man, I didn't even know he played DreadBall. Like he's like, I'm gonna bring a team. I'm gonna get ready to play, and John Jack as well. Like everyone's like, hey, can we make sure that it's at this time so that the guys at the booth can make it down in time? I'm like, absolutely. And so even kind of planning where it was, we were all kind of stacked up, and then Jeff and Rob, they have a buddy named Jamie, who's not as well versed in DreadBall, kind of wanted a refresher. And since I was there, I just, we kind of had our own little side game going on, and which was we went head to head. I was playing Rebs, he was playing Neobots, and yeah, so it was just a great time for everyone to unwind, and DreadBall Ultimate is always such a social game as well. And so kind of, at the end of it, Jamie beat me and on the last throw of the last rush with the last dice roll, and he doubles the bonus strike to sink it for the win by 1 point.
By 1 point.
Our game was so close.
That's all it takes.
And it's all it takes. And the hilarious thing with that too is the Ultimate guys are starting to heckle us that we're taking too long to play.
Yeah, because Ultimate, you have 6 players and everybody has a turn, and the game Ultimate could go a long while. It doesn't necessarily feel like it when you're playing it, but it takes quite a while to play through Ultimate. And the fact that you guys were slow.
The funny part about the slow thing is that both Jamie and I, we have some of the worst dice rolls. And so we flubbed the pickup at least 3 times in that game.
Yeah, so you start on pitch 4 and you still get beat out by Ultimate.
Hey, we did finish before Ultimate.
Barely.
And that said, did want to kind of mention, so to kind of circle back. So when people were first showing up, like John Jack gets there,
yes,
and he and Jeff are catching up, and I overhear how they're like, man, when's the last time I got to play John Jack in a tournament? And John was like, it's probably been 10 years. It like 2014 was like the last time he probably got to play in a Magic tournament at Adepticon. Because he's always at the booth and everything. And so that was really cool then, especially with the finale being John Jack takes home our little trophy.
Yes.
With his he was playing the Void Sirens, a custom made set that he printed off of Hero Forge. So big shout out, congratulations, geeked. John Jack.
He was so geeked about that victory.
Oh yeah. And so it is likely the start of a new tradition, I think. We did say it was annual, which means
it was annual, so it's
got to happen again.
Yep.
So look forward to that next year, and if as the scene, if it continues to grow, we can expand the mats.
Yes.
If it'll likely be that thing where we keep it as an ultimate game as opposed to like a league in a night or a bigger tournament, because it ultimately we took about 2.5 hours I think was the time. So it was a nice casual event, something that doesn't get in the way of other tournaments or games that people might have going on. It's a nice relaxed space to sit down, have some fun, throw some dice, and catch up with some old friends.
Yep.
Just sad that Crazy A had to leave before.
He would have definitely been in it.
Yeah. So that was our DreadBall Ultimate Cup.
Yep.
At Adepticon.
So
and yeah.
Well, that pretty much wrapped up what we did at Adepticon for the most part.
Yeah. And so I think we're going to cut to our interviews. You guys can hear from a lot of the folks that we met up with, and then we will check back in at the end.
All right.
Hey there, I'm Brian.
And I'm Rick.
This is Blaine. You are listening to Deadzone, the podcast. Keep listening for more excellent material from these two amazing men. Blaine out.
This Deadzone, the podcast hobby table, is sponsored by Corvus Games Terrain, 3D printer files for all your Mantic games.
And by Acid House Terrain, foldable cardboard terrain for wargaming and RPGs.
I should have been recording that part.
Like, Alex, it's been years since I've heard that statement. Love you.
Here we are at the Warzone Eternal booth. Yeah. Good seeing you. How's it going, Alex?
Yeah, it's good. Oh, we are doing
we are. We're there.
Yeah. It is good. It is Sunday morning, and I am exhausted, but it's been amazing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
How's the event been going? Had people been stopping by, checking out?
Yeah, we've been probably running 20-plus demos a day.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah. We had 2 tables. We had
and
demos.
You still have your voice.
I do, yes. I only talk when I need to actually correct somebody. Oh no, I'm sorry. Re-roll that now, and then I stop talking.
Brian is the one kind of like running through it, then you just tell Brian that he was wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
Rick does that a lot to me too.
I let Brian run the demo, and then afterwards I come back and I correct it. No. I mean, as I've always said, right? I've got some really amazing people working on this project with me. We had a guy, Gray, helped us on Thursday and Friday running demos, and he was amazing. And then, then Brian showed up for the show yesterday and today. So, we've had 2 people running demo tables pretty much all day long, every day. And it's a lot of really, really good feedback. People
That's awesome.
excited to see all the miniatures in the case.
Yeah.
We've got a preview of a Wave 2 miniature. It's actually a post-Kickstarter model. We showed that. People started posting it online. A lot of people were really excited. Longtime fans were like, wait, I know exactly what that is. So it's been amazing.
And the models just look stunning in this display case and on the board. Like they're really awesome.
No, I appreciate it. Yeah, again, really lucky to have the talent working with me that I do. The sculptures are amazing from top to bottom. So it's a collaborative project, right? I think all of these things are collaborative projects, but especially here. And so it's been great to see it kind of come to fruition here.
Awesome. And so what's kind of next steps in kind of delivery? Because I know you guys are in the process of...
Yeah, so we're currently in the middle of production right now. And actually our sculpting or our miniature production partner is at the show. We've had a couple meetings. He actually dropped off a couple of the metal masters that are used to make the Seocast molds.
Wow, all right.
Yeah, so it's cool, right, to actually... I think anyone who's a long-time fan of miniatures, they're like super giddy when they actually get to hold a metal miniature. Even though we're not going to produce metal miniatures, but to hold a metal miniature of something you've worked on.
Yeah, and that's you think about that, how special that one mini is.
Yeah,
because it'll probably be one of very few.
Well, yeah, I mean there will probably be
more than one.
Yeah, no, there will probably be less than a handful of those. I'll keep some, he'll keep some, so we have redundant copies. Mm-hmm. But yeah, from that one miniature, right, thousands of Undead Legionnaires are going to be spun up and cast. So
awesome.
Yeah, it's cool. It's really cool to kind of see that process much more, begin to understand that process much more. I think as miniature fans, we all have kind of an inkling of what that looks like. But it's only once you decide, hey, let's make 24,000 miniatures that you start understanding. What that process really entails. So
that's one thing I've always loved about our conversation, interviews, talking about the game and everything. Just that insider scoop on like this is the production realities and this is the process you go through. Like I think it's been really informative. I know for us personally, but also I think for fans of the game and it helps kind of keep them in the loop on like, okay, this is where we're at and this is what we have coming. So.
Yeah, no, I like that you call it an insider scoop as opposed to stories of Alex's ignorance and growing education. So I mean, I think yesterday we said that like the misconceptions I've had and the need for me to learn how these things work. It's my idiot tax that I'm paying. So
because we do a lot of different interviews with mostly YouTubers and gamers and a couple company owners, but you're the one that's gone into more of the details of what you're actually going through.
Sure. Yeah.
Everyone else is trying to sell themselves, which
right.
is a thing.
Yeah. No, I guess that's it's maybe my it's maybe the amateurism of my entry into this industry, right? I mean, being a one-man show, this being our first miniatures game. There's a lot of things that I'm learning, and the transparency I've been trying to maintain, right? Because again,
I think the fans appreciate that too.
Yeah. Well, as a small company or as a first-time company, right? It's a way for us to demonstrate to them that we are doing things, right? That like we are moving forward. That this isn't some black box that we've thrown money into. And now you're like, what is Alex doing with it?
Right.
Well, here, let me tell you the kind of stuff we've been doing. So transparency I think has been important for me throughout this entire process, and that includes saying, wow, I didn't expect to do this. It's been great. It's been great. It's been stressful, but this show specifically has for the last 2 years been a really affirming show. Right? Come here, people are super excited, and it makes the other 361 days of a slog, feel like, okay, this is a good thing. We're doing a good thing. I mean, yesterday had somebody who played. We actually got together and some people played a game after hours, right?
Yeah.
So that was really cool to actually go show up. Here's some people playing Warzone using proxies, but with the beta rules and everything. Sure. And one of the people turned to me and they said, you should be really, really proud of yourself. This is a good game. And like that's the kind of thing you're like, wow, okay. I mean, like, we're hoping we made a good game. To hear somebody say something like that, it's.
So I was gonna ask what was your favorite part of the con, but I think you just did.
Yeah, I mean,
and also versus last year. Because last year you weren't here like the whole time, just in this little bit.
Yep.
And to get over and do that after hours and see your game being played, that's got to be awesome.
Oh, it was super good. But also last night we had kind of an informal get together. We called it the first annual Adepticon Warzone Eternal Social.
Okay.
Well, yeah,
annual. First time over the annual.
We're good. We did that too. we had the first annual Deadzone the podcast official DreadBall Ultimate tournament.
Yeah, exactly.
Championship Cup.
I mean, something only becomes an annual if you do it at least once, right? So
Right.
it's nice to have a first.
Yeah, that's there at least one.
But yeah, so we did that, and we talked about future plans for Adepticon. We're gonna hopefully have a tournament here every year, an evening tournament. The first place winner is going to be able to work with Brian and I to develop the next unit for a faction that they want to do.
That'd be cool.
It's something that we did as part of our Kickstarter, and we had a couple people do it.
Yeah.
And a lot more people just thought, well, that was really cool. It was not within their budget, which is fine.
Sure.
Yeah.
So we're going to do that again, but now here, show up, win the tournament.
This isn't the budget because you're paying for the tournament anyways.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So,
that's awesome.
That's so cool.
We're looking forward to next year already.
Yeah. Do you have any other shows coming up where you're going to be presenting that?
Yeah, so I'm falling into a cadence right now of PAX for Adepticon in the winter spring, Origins in summer, and then PAX Unplugged in the fall winter.
Okay.
So those 3 shows, it gives us a miniatures heavy show. Origins gives us kind of one of the classic Midwest shows, and then PAX Unplugged gives us a show out on the East Coast.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So and plus PAX Unplugged is in Philadelphia, which is where Heartbreaker, which is the original miniatures manufacturer for Warzone, was based.
Gotcha.
So there's a lot of people, we were at PAX Unplugged in the fall, this past fall, and people came up to me and were like, my hobby shop ran the first ever Warzone tournament in 1995.
Yeah.
So it was a good place to kind of add to that that rotation. So next show.
build a new history there.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. So next show will be Origins.
Oh, excellent.
Right on.
Very cool. Well, Alex, thank you so much it's great catching up with you.
Absolutely.
And we'll let you get back to it and correct the Brian over there.
Thanks, guys. I love talking to you.
Yeah,
Awesome.
thank you so much.
Bye.
Wait just a second. And so we've actually found that if I hold the microphone down here, it actually works a little bit better. Because if it's up here, it kind of gets blown out.
Oh, interesting.
But yeah, we'll scoot out of the way. And so this is Brian, and I'm talking to Brandon.
Hey, everybody.
Brandon Rossman from Wind Hussar Publishing. How's it going, man?
Great. Always a pleasure to talk to you.
Happy birthday, by the way.
Thank you.
So here we are at Adepticon. And we lost Rick. He got distracted as
Easily to do here.
Yes, very easy to do. He's at the Ignition Core booth, but you guys have your own little booth here at Adepticon this year.
Yes.
And how have things been going?
Excellent. This is probably the best Adepticon we've ever had. The fiction is moving really well. The history stuff's moving great. Kings of War stuff has been amazing. We had a new Infinity novel that launched for the con, and that did really well. The author did a great job of self-promotion, and we sold a lot of copies of that. Ben Stoddard's new novel, Pride of a King, a lot of people have been interested in that. But the amazing thing is we've kind of hit the goal of what we've always been wanting to do with this, is we've had so many people come up and say, I want to get into the fiction. Where do I start? So we've sold several copies of every single one of the Kings of War novels. So
that's awesome.
The library is finally being built.
Yeah.
It's doing excellent. I'm very happy to report that.
Yep. And we're hoping soon we're going to have some more on the sci-fi side of it as well within the Warpath universe.
Absolutely.
I know there have been some whispers about a potential sequel to The Last Hurrah. Do we have any updates we might be able to share with our listeners?
So we did finish the final rush a little while ago, but it's it's been on the back burner because the focus for Mantic has been off of DreadBall. but we have a contract novel, so we have to get this out.
Yeah.
So if the novel's done, there's just some technical things in the back end that we're waiting to get finished. So the cover has been one of them. One of the things that we try to do is, we hear from fans they don't want to see recycled art, and I get that. The toughest thing, and I think maybe I've talked about this on the show before, but is the most cost efficient and effective way to identify brand is to use the art that the game has,
like we already have on the book covers and everything like that,
exactly.
or in the art that's in the game already.
Right. So you look at a book and that's easily Mantic. You can tell right away. Mm-hmm. So we did that with a few of the Kings of War novels, and then we expanded out into original art. So that way the basics, the first few books, people looked at and they go, oh yeah, that's the Basilean box art. They know that right away, and then they can see the new art from there. So with DreadBall, we're not quite at that point yet. So with the last Raw, we did one of the DreadBall art pieces. Yeah. We colored the human soldier red and gold to be the Vitality Vipers cover.
Yeah, the Vitality Vipers, yeah.
So we're trying to work on doing that with the second cover, but we're having some technical difficulties with doing that. So expect hopefully to see the cover soon, which will have the Vitality Vipers colors on it. I'm really excited about the novel because it follows in the steps of the first one, where it's good sports action and a lot of comedy. A little bit of a romance subplot going on.
And like not to spoil too much, we got a little bit of a sneak peek of this book, and it's reading great. It's really expanding. Into the Warpath universe. We're going to like the second and the first sphere, and where things are very different than they are kind of at the third sphere. So it's great to see how that is evolving the story and it's filling things out in ways that we haven't seen before. So that's awesome.
Exactly. And the thing with these novels versus like the Tales of Panoply novels is, we want to tell stories that do push the lore forward, but we also want to tell stories that people can just pick up and read for a good story. So while this doesn't, this doesn't push the lore of DreadBall further, and it doesn't expand the Warpath universe, it does tell a good story set in the DreadBall universe. So that way people can, if they're interested, they can recreate the games that happen in the book. They can recreate the Vipers and make their own team of Vipers, which, as I always will say, if somebody does, please send us pictures, and I will post it all over our social media accounts, giving you due credit.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and you're absolutely right. Like that's one thing that I think the Warpath universe is like really ripe for is stories within it, and then once we fill that in, then we can really start moving, the going into the future of that universe, and where things really start changing.
Right, and I mean that's what you see with the Tales of Panoply novels too, is that like the early ones, they don't really shake up the lore at all, because we want to make sure people know the tone and make sure that the fans are happy with what we're producing first. And then once we've hit that goal of, okay, we've established what we're trying to do, we've established, what people can expect, then we move forward with, these are the heavier novels that, delve into the deeper things. I mean, with Tales of Panoply, we did Rise of the Celestians, which pushed towards the Celestians, which are, the core of the Mantic universe. It set up how Kings of War basically exists in the world. And, Pride of the King and Broken Alliance were faction-specific books that told the stories of the halflings and the dwarves. So we work to just set up those stories that people can enjoy first and say, oh, well, this is great. Now I want to know more. And then we bring the more. So as we are able to find time and schedulability, we will push out more Mantic science fiction. But right now we're going to start with some nice, lighthearted stories for people to enjoy and just appreciate.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's awesome. And so one thing we caught ourselves is we were just kind of chatting, waiting to see if Rick was going to come back. We started talking about like our writing process. So you also have a new podcast that you're doing about writing and authorship. You want to talk a little bit about that? Feel free to pitch that that show.
I appreciate it
because it's really cool.
Yeah. So I run a podcast now called the WH Pubcast, which is a pun on publishing and podcast. And our initials are WHP for Winchester Publishing. So I was like, how do we work that into a podcast name? The Pubcast. And my co-host, Marc Barber, who's also one of our authors, he loved it for a different reason, because he's like, oh, well, it's like going to the pub and sitting down and having a nice beer with your friends and just catching up. So that's the kind of atmosphere he goes for on the show.
Yeah.
But we do, the original intention of this was, we go on a lot of shows and we talk about a lot of things. But a lot of times it's tough because the publisher, the podcasts we go on don't necessarily have time to read all the books that we put out because we do have a lot. And, everybody's time is precious. I appreciate that. I understand that. It's a lot to just read a book just for fun, not because you necessarily want to, but because you have a commitment to interview somebody. Yeah. So while we always appreciate the airtime, we never get the ability to ask to answer like the hard-hitting questions about what goes on in the background of the novel, how was it conceived, and like maybe some secrets and things that, aren't necessarily apparent. And this kind of came about because we were getting some weird feedback on some of the novels where people didn't fully grasp the message that was being sent, or maybe the character intentions, or there was things that were being lost in transition that, were clear to me, the editor, and were clear to the author, but might not, and even was clear to certain parts of the audience, but weren't clear to the entire audience. So I had the idea to say, well, since I edit all the novels, since I know all the answers to the questions already, why don't we do a podcast where I ask you questions that go deeper into the lore and ask what was the motivation behind this character? What were we doing with this? So that's kind of what the goal was. So now that we're actually in practice, the episodes are for the most part about giving aspiring writers tips on how to proceed. So we talk about dialogue, we talk about characters, we talk about IP writing versus original setting.
That was a good discussion.
Thank you, I appreciate that. But we also do author interviews, and that's broken up into two parts. So our author interviews are typically first part introducing the audience to the author, letting them know what they're about if they've never talked to them, and giving a little bit of the background of the book. And then the second part of the interview is the spoiler part. So we go into now that you've heard the elevator pitch, we're going to talk about the book. And my hopes of that is one of two things. Either you're going to listen to it and then say, well, this is really cool, now I want to buy the book. Or you're going to come back after you've read the book and go, oh, now I can understand some of the deeper meanings and the background information that, might have gone over my head in the first read. And maybe it'll inspire you to read it a second time to say, let me go look for those certain things you're talking about. Right. So it's been a fun experience. Just from looking at metrics, it looks like people are more interested in the writing tips than they are the actual author interviews. But we're working on it. It's a work in progress. And
once you kind of find your audience and what they're interested in, and even as that kind of library of recordings kind of builds out, I think you probably see people go back to those authors once they've read their books and things like that. To really kind of get that deep dive in. It's speaking of tips and tricks, Rick has returned to us for one thing.
Hi guys. I got sidetracked. It's easy to do here.
It's easy to do it. But what kind of spurs putting the getting the recording going while we were waiting for him was. We started talking about tips and tricks about writing, and one of the things we went into was starting about Hero Forge to start crafting your characters.
Yes.
And how you were saying, Brandon was telling me how he has, how many, it was 4?
I have 4 pre-painted, created miniatures from Hero Forge, and I have a library of them in Hero Forge. I have at least 30 or 40 characters that I've made, because beyond being an editor, I also do write, and I have a series of fantasy novels that I'm working on. The first one we put out when we very first started the company, it was before I had an editor. I am the editor, so I didn't have an editor. So
I checked it out. It was great.
Yeah, exactly. I sent it
good. Put it out.
Exactly. I sent it to a couple of people who had writing experience, but I didn't have the technical know-how that I have now and the cadre of authors that I work with now to really give me the feedback I was looking for. Yeah. So we took it off the market. Marc Barber is a godsend. He worked really closely with me on fine-tuning the novel to make sure it was exactly how I wanted it to be, while still catching something that I didn't catch, because when you're the author, you're too close to the source material to be able to see the true flaws. So we're now relaunching the novel this summer, and I'm very happy with the final product now.
Excellent.
It was things that I didn't know how to fix, but as the author and editor of my own novel, I was like, I don't know what to do, so this looks good enough for me. But now I'm superbly happy with the way it turned out. So
very cool.
Hopefully I'm hoping that, having worked in the industry for so long and getting to know so many people, maybe people will be interested in reading my own writing, so we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
Right
hopefully I'm definitely checking it out as soon as it comes out, man.
100%.
And I can say I too use Hero Forge. It just really helps. I know for me, for my writing, is it helps me kind of visually understand my characters and what they would look like in the space, so that because that was one thing I always kind of recognized in my writing is I tend to be short on descriptions of things that are going on, like details about, what's this room look like? What do the characters look like as they do actions? And so that was one thing. Is like, okay, well, I need to visualize what they look like a little bit better than just in my head. It's like, well, they have a head and 2 arms and legs, right? Like, and they can do stuff to move around and whatnot. That's pretty basic, right? But being able to like paint up a mini digitally, and it's like, okay, well, I know this guy, like, he has this bit of a swagger to him.
Right.
This person has a very intense look on their face. They stand like this. They're always at the ready. Or this is the kind of gun that they're bringing to this firefight. So yeah, it's a really fun tool. It's not maybe inherently intuitive that would be a great use of it, but it's really fun to have as a resource. So.
Well, coming from a video game background, which I'm sure you guys can empathize with as well, one of the things I love in any video game is a diverse party of characters.
Oh yeah.
So when I'm playing a game, I'm a huge Final Fantasy fan. Couldn't get into 16 because it was just one person, and I need a party of characters.
Yep.
So when I was creating the novel, I wanted to make sure each character had a different look, a different approach. And so I would draw them, but I'm not an artist, I'm a writer, so I didn't like necessarily the way it came out. So then I came across Hero Machine, which was like a Flash-based program that you could customize how characters look. And originally it was designed for like superheroes, but they added all this fantasy and sci-fi stuff, so I was able to really customize my cast to look exactly as I wanted it to.
That's awesome.
Then Flash died, and it was harder to make accurate proportions in that at the very end because they're all superhero bodies.
Right.
So I ended up finding. So I think it might have been. I'm trying to remember who told me this. I think it was Mike Lee. Mike Lee, who was another author, told me about Hero Forge, and I was like, I've never heard of this, but it sounds cool. And you always hear about make your minis, but there's very little customization. I've been following them over the years, and the level of customization that they've added
it's been insane.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous what you can do with it.
Yeah, so
absolutely ridiculous.
I've been even able to replicate Mantic races. Because like Ben Stoddard and I were talking about making minis of different characters. I was able to recreate a couple of them to like novel characters to make in there. So now that's my Bible of just if I have a character I need a description of, I'm gonna make them first, save it. So if I forget a small detail, whether it's eye color, hair color, what they're wearing, I go back to that mini and there's everything I need.
Yeah.
We just mentioned that in another interview because of the Void Sirens for DreadBall.
Yeah.
Using that to create them. John Jack did that.
Yeah.
It's such a cool technique, and I love supporting vendors because I am a vendor and I love supporting the game. I think it's definitely an interest. I think it's the best use of 3D printing with all the RPG materials out there and all the different games. It's nice to be able to create you as you want.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Brandon. We'll let you get back to it here, and hey, have a great rest of your Adepticon.
Thank you.
And
You guys
enjoy the rest of your birthday.
Thank you. Always a pleasure.
Yeah, we're doing good. As you can tell, I hit the record button.
Yeah, we started. So we're here with Andy.
Hey, how you doing, guys?
Officially with Mantic for one.
Yeah.
That's it now. 11 weeks into the job and the baptism of fire here at Adepticon.
Yeah.
So, how was your first experience at Adepticon?
Adepticon has been amazing. The only downside of Adepticon is why have I not been here before? If
I remember, about 4 years ago, I might have said something about being my ringer.
Yeah. And to be fair, I think I bought flights. I paid for a hotel, and then someone decided to shut the world down for a couple of years, and then all got cancelled. But I'm here now. Eventually,
you are here.
Yes.
We didn't get you as a ringer, but we got you as Mantic this time.
I did say last night that if I come back next year, I'll bring a Deadzone there. I'll be with me and I'll get involved.
The worst case scenario, we'll get a game in with you.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because that Saturday night, we were all just kind of hanging out, doing all sorts of random stuff. That's the time to game.
That is definitely the time to game, yes. I apologise for the voice as well, for anyone listening.
We completely understand.
About how many demos of Halo do you think you've done?
So I probably do about 30 demos or something like that, but that's not many because the guys have been doing them. I've covered some breaks and things, but because we've had queues around the booth, I've been the person around the outside answering the questions, shaking the hands and saying, hey, everyone, do you know about this game? Is there anything I can tell you about it? Do you never need information? Anything you want to know while you're waiting for a demo? That kind of stuff. So yeah, I've been the one kind of keeping the troops ready while they wait for the demo games.
Well, and that was the big difference this year. So for the Adepticons that we've gone through, there's always been a couple games being played.
Yes.
This year, 3 demo tables, all Halo.
Yes. So on day 1, we had 2 Halo demo tables. We had a table of Armada to start with. The idea was to rotate through some of our games on that 3rd table.
Sure.
We kind of got crushed in the first 10 minutes. And it was like, Ronnie was like, right, we just need to get another Halo demo table on there. And that's the way it's been for the whole weekend, really. It's pretty much just been full all day, every day.
That's so awesome.
Well, can't tell you how many times you've actually stopped by. It's like, is now a good time to get the interview with Andy?
No, we're going to do that.
But I must say, there's been a few spots over the weekend as well where folks have they've played the demo, they've been really excited. We've told them it's coming kind of end of September, early October. Is there anything I can kind of do now? Well, you could try out Deadzone. And so actually we've been able to kind of point people in that direction. So some folks are getting into Deadzone, especially here as well. We're around miniature gamers, so the miniature gaming aspect, the hobby aspect isn't a barrier to the folks here. Halo is definitely aimed probably more at a wider audience who maybe building miniatures as a barrier, that kind of stuff. So we're trying to capture maybe a different crowd with they're loving the Deadzone mechanics and picking up some kind of Deadzone stuff. So
absolutely.
So we've got some new Deadzone players in the midst.
That's awesome. So what's your favorite part about it?
Well, apart from the games, the food's been pretty good. But I would say it's the fact there's so many folks here all playing miniature games. You can walk around, see every miniature game. You know, when you see some online, you go, nobody plays that. Here, everybody plays stuff. I've seen every game played. Everyone's having fun. Conventions I've been to before have been very board game focused. And actually people seem a little bit, I'm off playing my game. Here everyone's screaming and shouting and rolling dice and getting involved and looking at each other's games and checking out the painted miniatures. It's a completely different vibe to every con I've been to.
And too, like to kind of couple on that, like the amount of like games that people are playing that are like in beta or getting their first taste of, like people are coming here to try out new games.
Absolutely, you've got everything from trying new games that are people being play tested and sort of checking things out, tweaking things, to games that have not been in production for 20 years. And I've only ever seen them on the internet, and all of a sudden there's a whole table of like 20 guys in the corner somewhere playing it. It's really, really good to see.
Very cool. So what time are you guys heading out? And
so I think the plan is the booth shuts around 4 p.m. I've got a flight tonight at 6, so I'm going to head out about 3 and get an Uber across to the airport and then start to rest my legs and rest my legs.
Gotcha. And what's if you can give us a sneak peek of like what's kind of the next projects? I know you're doing a lot of more video work and marketing. Like what's kind of your day-to-day now? Like,
so my day-to-day basically is anything that's any video work, social media, interacting with influencers, media, that type of stuff. But also quite heavily involved in kind of planning of projects and things as well, and trying to look further ahead. So if we had, for example, some sci-fi things coming out in the summer for games that you might be interested in, I'll be starting to work on. I need this stuff painted from the studio in advance so I can make a video about it in time for release. So I'm kind of, because of the initial push of the early part of the year around Halo and Epic Warpath, I'm now starting to get to the point where I'm planning ahead for the summer of sci-fi and those kind of things. So yes, I'm kind of, I can't tell you what I'm working on. But I'm working on stuff you might be interested in.
So, speaking of the stuff that we don't know about, when we get closer, will you be able to come on the podcast with us and talk about all these fun things as they get ready to come out?
200%. I would love to be on it.
Awesome.
Yes.
I was like, he's looking like he's about to say no.
No, I am absolutely. I'd be honoured to do it, because what this weekend has taught me is I've sat on my hands and with my zip lipped for like maybe 3 months about Halo and things like that. Couldn't talk to us all about it. And now I've finally got here, and it's been like the shackles are off. I can start telling you, and then it'll be exactly the same when we start talking about that stuff. I'm going to sit down for a little while, not be able to talk about the things I'm working on, and then I'll be able to come to talk to you guys and get all excited. Spill the beans, be the new Ronnie, tell everybody I shouldn't be telling people, all that kind of stuff.
We can't wait for that.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, thank you so much for taking some time. I know I'm sure there's other games there. Yep, there's a lot of time left.
I got one more question for you.
Go for it.
What kind of cookies should I bring next year?
Oh, there was only one answer. That is all the cookies. They were all awesome. So thank you for the cookies.
All right. Well, you have fun.
Yeah.
Wrapping up before you leave, Brother Bear, and thank you so much for.
Thank you very much, and also to catch you both as well.
Yeah. Same here. Safe travels.
Cheers.
Just so we're out of the way and sound wise.
Yeah.
So.
Did we hold it okay?
Yeah, no, we do this one mic, yeah.
We found that holding it down here actually is better because it keeps peaking anytime we're anywhere else.
And I'm super loud anyway,
I was
so.
going to say, you don't need to actually fucking broadcast yours, do you?
So here, Brian and Rick are with Ronnie, the bard himself.
Hello, one and all.
So, how was the Adepticon this year for you?
Crazy busy. I mean, it's kind of a success on 3 levels. We've got a fantastic Kings of War tournament.
Yeah.
We've got the Clash of Kings 2022 winner over here. I think he's up on the top table, so he's doing well. So that's another obligation fulfilled before his man to come over from Spain.
That's excellent.
Yeah, I think we've had a great showing with the Deadzone tournament, and Annihilation's been going well. We've had a DreadBall tournament.
Yes, we did.
That's good. And then we've been down at the booth, and Halo has been just going absolutely bananas.
So, what drove you to go for that IP?
Well, firstly, there's not many that make a good walkover.
Yeah.
Okay. There's lots of IPs that have great story, but
Sure.
can you turn it into a game with people shooting at each other and rolling dice? And that's kind of fundamental to what we do.
Yeah.
Secondly, I could see how we could do a phenomenal game of it. By that I mean using that Deadzone mechanics at its core level, but then very strongly theming it up with respawn, with the capture the flag scenario style game, really fast. Because I think what we're going to do is bring thousands more people playing Mantic games. And sometimes
definitely.
going and getting an IP helps people to get over that first hurdle, which is tell me what a Forge Father is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's tell me what an Enforcer is. Okay, I can guess, but you've got to go through a whole learning curve. Whereas everyone knows what Spartan is.
Yep, that's true.
And you know it, you know what you want to do with them. So suddenly all you have to focus on is the game. And we know the game mechanics are absolutely gorgeous.
Yes.
They've been through 12 years of development, refinement. Every question that's ever come up, we've answered.
Yep.
It's been answered. We've been through tournaments. It's been through, and by the 3rd edition, we had a super clean, very strong engine.
Yes, 100%.
And then we can put the IP, and we can put the things that make that IP come to life in a game scenario setting. And when you combine those things, I think you've got something pretty explosive.
It's great because I showed my younger brother, and I are really, he's a big gamer like me, so I showed him DreadBall, played Deadzone with him a couple times. And so also huge Halo fans. Like we continue to play like at least every other week. And so telling him it's like, hey, Halo's coming out and it's in the Deadzone game style. So we got a new game to bring together.
And I think and I think it's just a little bit lighter, a little bit more intuitive because there's less factions. The respawn, so you don't mind if you die, you can do that kind of crazy laugh out loud stuff. And I think that space, there's a lot of people going to really love that. There's a lot of people like your brother who's gone, I like Deadzone, but you kind of set it up, you have the factions, and I'll come along and turn it.
Sure, yeah.
So the versus where, no, I'm doing it.
Yeah.
And that's what we're looking for. And lots of people to do it. Because then some will go on to play Firefight.
Yes.
Some will go on to play Deadzone because they want something more. Some will go on to Kings of War because once you've come in, you go, hey, I love
You're in.
okay. And some will just play Halo for the next few years.
Yeah.
But as long as we run back next year, we don't have half the room, we've got the whole room.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
That's what we want to be doing.
That's going to
That
be
just means
blast.
more.
So speaking of more, what we are with this being Deadzone, the podcast. What can we be looking forward to?
You've got a couple of trees coming out. So I actually held back. We're going to do a sci-fi release in February. I said, no, too much going on.
Yeah.
I said, let's just hold back for a couple of months and then let's go big
So we did the Warpath Kickstarter.
Yep.
Very, very well received.
Successful.
Yeah.
The nameless.
Great scale. Horeled. I mean, if you think about it, if you think on the one hand you've got Halo, 4 guys, your terrain, which is going to be assembly, through to Warpath, the other end, where you're going to have 4,000 guys. That's where we live. That's the Mantic space. We do other things like Worms. It's just outside it. It's a board game, but we're dabbling in someone else's pot there. When you hit Halo through to Warpath, that's where we live. Kings of War, Vanguard, Deadzone. So, we've got a really lovely time now playing in that sandpit. And I held back on the Cypher edition so we can go all of them together over the next couple of months. So it's going to be May, June. We are going to have the Void Lurkers. Beautifully painted, looks fantastic. It's a great big new kit. So they'll be coming in, and I think everything will be like, where possible, Deadzone and Firefight. So you're getting new factions. So you have a few little figures. Here you go. Oh, you painted those. Oh, you're halfway to Firefight. I need to give it a try. So all those huge numbers of Deadzone fans that are out there have a new option. Hard plastic Asterians.
We got plenty of people that are going to jump all over that.
Hard plastic Matsudan. Yes, thank you very much. So that's going to give us the finishing pieces for the Asterian faction. Probably now you can probably do it. It's a beautiful faction, really good fun. And then some flavour with the thingies. But then the Matsudan are going to come their own unique faction in Deadzone with their own rules.
I cannot wait for that.
A couple of new sculpts.
Awesome.
Their commanders, so everything new but loads of extra stuff. So, and we're going to do a big push. We're going to have the containment protocols. I'm going to do like a mini rule book like we did for Kings of War.
Excellent.
And we're going to have 2 months of just 3 months of absolute sci-fi bonanza.
Awesome.
Get everybody going on it.
Cannot wait for that.
Now I'd be remiss, because I'm that guy.
I just gave you like I just leaked the shit out of them.
Any news on the Reds?
I'm sorry to introduce that.
I'm sorry about that. We lost the recording, but we're back. And and one thing that we're really excited about, especially with the Warpath thing, with all of the STLs for the super heavies, is to make them 28 millimeters.
We thought people will do that.
100%. There's something about that big monster super heavy for Plague that I want that on a 28 millimeter table.
And you might need to go like exactly 28 mil in terms of it will be the size of a house. But you could get a nice size.
Huge,
and it'll still be good, and you can do some fun of it. The baby version of it. But there's going to be a whole lot of fun, and I think it's a great way for some of the old grognards to come along. I want to play that Gebby game. I want the choice of factions, which other games might not have given people, so there's a real choice. We know we're going to bring a community with it. They can add to the community, and suddenly they're going, what's Forge Fathers? Oh, the Warpath universe. Play. I get this. And gamers like gaming. And when you've started to get into a faction, you start, I'm going to do a bit of Deadzone, I'm going to do a bit of that other stuff. So I think it could be a big recruiter for our kind of classic customer base. And so there's going to be STLs, there's a real recruitment.
So, he brought up that one faction. So for me, we've got Nameless and Deadzone. And we got Nameless and Warpath Epic. Do we have a chance of that coming to Firefight?
Yeah, I think it's absolutely valid. I think that's where you can, so when you've done the design work, then there's just a missing piece of some hard plastic. We have to make sure this Asterian and Matsudan is the first hard plastic we've done for the Warpath universe outside of a Kickstarter. So
this has to kick off.
Correct. We need to make sure it's that point and we go, then we can invest in this and we can grow on this. We've been doing it for years for Kings of War, but we need to start doing it with less hard plastic. And so if we can do it, it unlocks a whole load of possibilities because suddenly we've got an audience, we've got people picking this stuff up, and we're seeing it. There's tournaments popping up in the UK. 12 and Folds have been painting every faction there is. And the game is lovely. Firefight is gorgeous.
It is.
Deadzone's a great place. So, it allows us to talk about the things we're not talking about. That you used to have all that stuff becomes possible once we know we don't need a Kickstarter.
Yeah,
Yep,
100%.
absolutely.
Because what I want to be doing is supporting it twice a year, 3 times a year, straight to retail releases, straight to community releases, not here's a big Kickstarter.
Sure.
We're going to go deep, we're going to do 8 tools, what do we end up with, 10 or 11 tools in the Warpath one?
Yep.
Yeah.
So, there we go.
Very
Awesome.
Cool. Well, Ronnie, thank you so much
My
for
pleasure.
taking the time with us. We know you're a busy man.
I've got them all working, so I'm just running around.
Thank you so much, Ronnie.
My pleasure. Thanks, guys. Thanks,
And-
everybody.
Yep,
Thanks
safe
for listening.
travels back.
Yeah, cheers, man.
What's up, everyone? I'm Andrew
And I'm Coach,
from Family Gamers 777 on YouTube.
and you are listening to Deadzone the podcast with Rick and Brian.
Do you think they'll be upset that our audio is better than theirs?
Nah, Rick will probably just laugh it off. Told you.
Wow, those interviews were great, weren't they?
The power of editing. As the two of us are just sitting here staring at each other, it's like, okay, we'll give it a little break.
Yep. So like there was a lot that is going on from
Yeah.
the Magic News side and from just the people we got to hang out with and meet. We got, as you heard, we got to hang out with Winged Hussar Publishing. Those guys are great. It was great catching up with them. They had a booth. They brought their booth back this year,
Yep.
and they did great. Like to tell of like the sales and everything. Like people were coming to them to check out. Hey, I want to get into the Panathor lore. I want to get into the Mantic stuff. And I think a lot of their other books also did really well there.
Yes, indeed. And then we saw Alex from Nova.
Yep.
It was great catching up with him and seeing where their production on Warzone Eternal is going.
Mm-hmm. And we didn't get a recording of him, but Rick Tuck was also there.
Yep.
It had been a while since I got to see him, so it's great to hear that his store is expanding.
Yeah, I think that's super awesome. Like expanding to the fact that he's going to have a gaming area for tournaments.
Right. And then let's see. So obviously there was Halo.
Really?
We're kind of buried
Halo
the
was
lead there.
everywhere.
Everyone's like, oh yeah, I get the tournaments, I guess. Talk about Halo. So you've heard some of our folks on the interview side of things talk about the Halo game. It was incredibly popular at the booth to have people come by, check it out, learn about what's going on with that. Pre-orders, I think, were just streaming in following that announcement, and so I think it's going to do incredibly well, I imagine, based on what we're hearing.
Sure it will.
They have some really cool minis in the booth in the trophy case there.
Yes, they did.
So got to show off those cool minis. So yeah. And
so what?
I was just gonna say mechanically.
Mechanically, it's in a very sound game. Like,
yeah.
I mean, it's based off of the best sci-fi skirmish game.
So we're likely going to see a little uptick in Deadzone as well, we think.
Yes.
So we'll have to start planning for that. We're going to have a lot of tournaments to run next year.
Yeah, a few. Maybe
Yeah.
I'll bring Rachel with us.
Yeah, that might work.
Do it. So, Brian, what was your favorite part about Adepticon this year?
I think my favorite part of Adepticon really has to be the ultimate game, the DreadBall event at night. Obviously, all the rest of it was excellent.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But being able to just kind of hang out with those guys and catch up on DreadBall, like you kind of forget. I was looking over at one point at the ultimate mat and just seeing all these highly like detailed painted minis on that board, and just thinking is like, man, DreadBall is such a good looking game too. So that was, I think, was a big highlight for me.
Yeah.
Was that event? What was your favorite part?
So it was kind of, there was two that like were right up there at the top. I mean, I absolutely love going to Adepticon and seeing everybody and everybody playing games and enjoying each other's companies. But for me, it was playing Annihilation. Absolutely love Annihilation again. But seeing that spark in people's eyes that they really want to play that. And then my game in Firefight with Felix. That was, so our game only went 2 rounds. We spent those 2 rounds though, talking about Firefight and talking about his list because he was playing Maison Labs as well. And it was just that it was a really good connection. And it's one of the best parts about Adepticon is those connections that you make.
Yeah,
those would definitely be mine.
Felix is a great guy, and it's been nice to like have our friendship grow over like mostly at that event.
Yep. It's funny how that works.
And he's not too far away either, so he's just down kind of in the Ohio area. So I definitely agree with that, and definitely a shout out to the family of gamers 777 guys. It was great. It was great chatting with them, and more funny because we like tucked ourselves away out of the main flow.
Well, when we first started talking to him, like we're right in the main aisle at the top of the escalator, so it's like people are going by, and it's like we should probably move. We move, and it's like this flow of people started moving with us and going by us.
And somehow, like people kept finding us as old friends. I think that's where we saw Crazy A walk by at one point. We saw Terrainaholic. The Foremans had stopped by. It was great catching up with them.
A couple of the Michigan players from other game systems.
Yep. So it was great catching up with Coach and the gang, and really cool to see the work that they're doing on improving their show and kind of taking it to that next level. They gave us little goodie bags too, so that was a plus.
Yes.
We only had stickers to give away, so sorry guys.
Stickers.
We might see if we can get some more. Might be working out a deal with Andrew there yeah. So it's great to have them as friends of the show and just friends in general.
Yep.
And
it's one of those things. I'm pretty much sure all of our listeners follow FOG. But if you don't, you guys should go check them out because they actually throw out quite a few videos from Adepticon, including playing Halo.
Yep, absolutely. They had a great video series that I caught a couple episodes on as the day kind of wore on to recapping their experience and the games that they got to demo and play, and all sorts of their Adepticon hauls. And speaking of hauls, I wanted to throw out. I know I've got stuff by the Wind Hussar Publishing booth. Like I got they had a new book getting published, and I got to meet the author of that. It was his first published book with them, I believe. And so that was really cool. And I'm gonna see if I can look up the picture real quick, so that I can say the guy's name as I stall slowly.
It's really funny. Like we talk about all the people that we got to see again and all that stuff, but I'd be remiss if I didn't say the fact that we missed out on seeing Jack.
Yeah.
And we missed out on seeing Tyler.
Yeah.
Those two guys are like mainstays for us when it comes to Adepticon. And the fact that both of them weren't there this year was really sad.
It was sad. But you know what could help people get over that sadness is reading some books from Wind Hussar.
Now, if there's not a segue, that's a segue.
Yeah. So it was. So I did pick up 2 Mantic books. I had Pride of the King, which is the dwarf novel, and Ascent of the Goblin King, which is the one from our good friend Rob Veermyn. I'm going to give that a read. But then I also picked up this other novel that's kind of a new, kind of in his own IP, The Sword and the Cipher by Riley O'Connor. And he was a really nice guy. I got to meet him in person. He signed signed my book, and we chatted a little bit about journeying as writers. And,
Right on.
So that was a cool time. And then we both stopped by the Ignition Core guys.
Yeah.
Got a booth right next door.
Well, I mean, when we went to go do the interview, you did the first part of the interview without me because I was over talking to Will at Ignition Core.
Just sitting there chatting with Brandon on his birthday.
Yep.
Rick wanders off.
I didn't wander that far.
I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna start recording at least. But yeah, what did you wind up getting from them, Rick?
So I actually got a couple mechs. So what I got was 2 mechs and 2 support mechs for 2 different factions. The Valkyries and
Nephilim.
Something like that. So one of the things Will's going to do is he's going to create a custom scenario for me to actually show this game off to a couple people, because it's mechs, it's anime, it's chibi, like 1, 2, 3, perfect.
I know Pat can't stand it, but boy, they, like the models that these guys have are really cool. I definitely recommend checking them out. It's
and the rules for the game are free on their website.
Yep, the rules are free. You can play it pretty much on you can play it on a Deadzone board. And I know for me, like I likely won't play the game just from the sense of I don't have room to like add another game to my collection at this time. But
get a bigger basement.
But the minis are outstanding.
Gorgeous.
And so I got one that's one of the mechs, and then it comes with 2 little pilots, and I'm like, that's what I need right now. I want to paint this thing up. So definitely check them out. And yeah, I mean, I'm sure we're forgetting stuff because we're exhausted.
Yeah, and it's 2 days later. Like that was always the fun part about recording on the way home. Is everything is super fresh, but Rick broke the tablet.
You didn't break the tablet. I didn't plug it in to charge it after using it 2 days in a row for running tournaments.
That's true.
But did want to throw out there too some of the other Mantic news that has come in. We do have our new sneak peek at the Mantic Vault coming in April,
which is hilarious because we're driving home and we are literally talking about Star Saga, and it would be amazing to see it in the vault.
Yeah.
So what happens when we get home? Spoiler.
The Ares contract mercenaries are going to be coming to the vault.
And it sounds like they're coming as an elite force. Like it sounds like they're going to be in Deadzone as a force themselves.
Yeah.
Like not necessarily a faction, but this elite.
I'm really curious how many points it is to have all of them.
It should be 175.
It should be. So yeah, it's hopefully it's a step in the right direction in this show's opinion.
Yes, but I mean all of it was too. Like the plague bits and pieces for the Hornet were in there. The dead bodies, which I would have absolutely loved a month ago when I started working on the Annihilation, because I so would have put those dead bodies on those Wolverine tanks. I still will.
Yeah. And I think there was also, like the leapers and stuff, like the ghouls, not leapers, but the ghouls that like hang out of the mule and everything are also on there.
Yeah, they're
the crew of the mule.
Yeah, that works.
So that's shaping up really nicely. Always love the Mantic Vault, and it's always great when we get some more of the sci-fi stuff.
Yeah. Give us more sci-fi.
And I think as a last note, wanted to make sure got in there. The Corvus Games train has been having a discount for the week of Adepticon. It might be ending as this show airs, but we do still have our own kind of coupon code with him. every month. So you're looking at DZ Podcast April will be your new code for the month of April.
Sweet.
Yeah. And yeah, I think
that's a wrap.
I think that's a wrap. After all of those interviews that we did.
Yeah, that kind of yeah. But as always, if you like us, don't forget to follow us on all those social media things.
Yeah, do
All
that.
of them.
And
Or one,
the thumbs up or 5 stars. However you like me.
However you want to do it.
The opposite, I guess. If you don't like our show, then
that's true.
You can just calmly walk away, and our paths never again shall cross. But if you do love the show, make sure you share it and tell your friends. If there's any content that you'd like to see on the show, feel free to message us, like on our Facebook page is probably our most active. We'd love to hear from you guys. And now that Adepticon's over, it's like, what are we going to plan to do next?
Michigan GT.
The Michigan GT. Well, we actually have a Deadzone tournament next month.
That's
in
true.
April.
Like right around the corner.
Mm-hmm, where you're going to get to play.
I'm going to get to play. And it sounds like my initial thoughts on what I was going to bring was just going to fun list and kind of goof off and see what an underscored list would do. But now that I know Corey's going to be there, because this whole time I've never played Corey.
Mm-hmm.
So if everything works out, I'm totally challenging Corey.
You hear that first,
After.
Sports fans. Deadzone in April at Excel Hobbies in Garden City, Michigan. Be there.
Is that what it is? Garden City?
Yep. On April 20th.
Garden City was over by Grand Rapids.
That is the other direction.
A complete other direction. Because I can't figure out the names of any of these towns that are right next to each other.
That's fair. But yeah, so with that, have a good night, everybody, and stay safe.
Ta-da!
Yeah, that worked out.
Yeah. Yes, indeed.
Mm-hmm.
What was that?
That was my phone going off, probably. It was funny how everyone was like, messaging me the day of. It's like, do you have the results yet? Do you have the results yet? And
the game was still going, and people were asking on Facebook, and I'm like,
so like, and it
chill out.
I made sure this year, like I got all the lists that I could, and had that all packaged up. It took me like, I think 2.5 hours to kind of get everything organized with the photos labeled properly for the kind of individual army pictures and everything like that. So it was just like, But I liked it better when it was one big consolidated post than where it was like, here are the results, here are the lists, go crazy. And here's a link, here's some more other pictures of the like individual games going on and the pictures of the boards and stuff. So good times.
Yes, indeed.